Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS. It's time for Owin's Field Report, sponsored by Les Schwab Tire Centers.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so we just confirmed with Nick Popoff that we're going to have him here this upcoming segment, unless something goes awry. But we just talked to him, so he's already had a really, really good morning down there. So, again, we'll have that with Nick Popoff, an interview here in just a little bit. First things first, reports from yesterday. It's without question the #1 story in the region is the Astoria area, then of course the Columbia, and then we're going to talk a little bit later on with Big Dave, a little bit further south on the coast, is chasing fall Chinook around. And that fall Chinook season, I got this question just a couple of days ago, well, what do you call the October, November fish that are over along the coast? Those are still falls, it's just a different run when things change on the Columbia. So we got a lot of that stuff to talk about going forward. But oh, and I forgot, our tech tip today, for you that are like me, that are crazy about chasing waterfowl around, got some questions about decoy setup. Mainly that one was that I've showed it in the past, can you do that again kind of thing, and then about motion decoys, and we're going to have a quick tech tip in between our two interviews with that. But here's a photo that I got this morning. This is actually from Stuart Carr from S&C Rod Racks. You know that rod rack that you see on the back of everyone, like literally everyone's boat now? This is what we were continually talking about with grass. Pretty much all sections. It seems like the further or the closer that you get to Bonneville, the less grass there is, which makes sense. But this is horrible. And this was the story of the day yesterday from the dead zone down even a little bit further around Davis Bar, heading down towards Frenchman's, getting down into Social Security, or yeah, whatever you want to call that down there, and then around the mouth of Lewis and further down. So it is horrible. And a lot of these grass mats, if you have decent sonar, you can see big blobs halfway through the water column, which is not necessarily uncommon, but it's not, I wouldn't say normal. You know, you're just trolling along, you see a big blob, and then all of a sudden, your rod goes over for the wrong reason. That's what you're dealing with. Yesterday, Stuart dealt with this all day long and was saying that it was so bad that they had to clean off the kicker because it was getting so clogged up with grass. So with all these hot days, it's just not going to get any better. And especially with the river as low as it is on the low tides, we'll get there in a second on what you can expect there. But yeah, it is just, it's a definite issue. His report from yesterday was hundreds of boats and only saw one net fly and only heard of one fish get caught. So not very good. Reports I'm getting this morning are similar. Got a photo this morning from, not Ridgefield, the other one, Rainier, with, I mean, as far as you could see, it was an aluminum hatch. I mean, there's people out there everywhere right now trying to beat the heat. So it is certainly a challenge, but just expect things to get better in the next week or two in the main stem of the Columbia. You can only hope that things start to clear out a little bit, because that's a disaster. You can barely see that evolution flasher in there. I had to show that photo when he sent it over. All right, let's go ahead and go to fish counts. You can just kind of see what's going on. They haven't updated the Willamette for a couple of days. Looking at Bonneville, you'll see that, well, I should be honest here, I hadn't actually looked at it this morning, but the counts have made a bounce. Yes, you can see the bounce there for Chinook, nearly doubled, actually more than doubled yesterday. So there's definitely, you know, 8,000 isn't a lot of fish over Bonneville, especially in the fall. Or this isn't even the fall, late summer. And not biting. That is very consistent with 71, 72, and even one of the reports that I got this morning, 73 degrees on the Columbia. That's very warm water. When there is some sort of a temperature break where it starts to go down, there'll probably be a mass exodus heading over Bonneville, and they're not as snappy when that water is so warm. You can see huge numbers going by you and no bites, and that's kind of what people are running into. And right now, it's very difficult to get all your gear through the grass to get to the fish. Again, steelhead still holding strong. Well, again, we've been beaten into submission on that one. Still not great numbers for the long term, but in the last handful of years, that's really good to see. Hopefully that just continues. Hopefully I can get back on the chutes one more time before it's all over with. All right, now, river levels. Not very interesting on the Willamette. It is a bit interesting on the Columbia just because the tide set is changing a little bit. And again, this all falls down to timing when you're referring to grass in particular. I get the question all the time, well, what's the best tide to be out? The best time to be out is when you can get there. If you can catch the tide changes, hey, that's great. But looking at the Columbia, you're going to see here at Vancouver, going from these little tiny bounce tides, now just a straight vertical up and down tides. That's not great for grass. You're going to want to time, if you can time it, you know, bottom of the tide, when that grass has a chance to really get out, down in here is where you're going to have your times where the grass isn't going to be so bad. And it's really weird. I've been doing this a long time, and I have never talked about grass so much. It's really a thing. But again, I know we already moved on, but it does change back to those little shallow tides. Those little shallow tides are also decent times to be out there because there's not as much pull on the grass to get it into the water column. So something, you know, again, it's really weird to talk about it so much. Bonneville, big bounces. It's hot. People need to run their ACs. You know how it is. Procure. Don't forget to send Jason over at Procure an email, jason@procure.com, and have a chance to win that prize pack. Yes, it is real, and you do have to do it each week in order to be entered in to win. Quite honestly, there's been a couple of people that have won it more than once. Oddly enough, but that's the facts. All right, let's check in with Peyton Major and find out how hot it's really going to be. Yesterday, I can tell you, at 3:30, Peyton, I went to meet a bunch of folks over at Abby's in Oregon City. It was 102 on my truck. Oh, yeah. Is right. Are we going to see that again?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what the squirrel's saying, right? I love this photo. I just had to show you this because it's a squirrel in a bird bag. I mean, amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so it's going to feel as hot as yesterday because we're only talking a couple degrees difference, but it's also more humid. I know. No one wants the humidity here. 69 out there in our Shriners camera. Some clouds kind of floating around in those higher levels. We do have a brand new air quality advisory. So if you notice your throat's starting to hurt, maybe get a little scratchy, or you're starting to see the haze build up in the distance, that's because of a fire that's brewing in Central Oregon. You can see it here. It's the flat fire. I do think conditions aren't ideal today. Low humidity, hot weather. I mean, we're not talking great, conditions, but we do know that air quality will probably be the main impact, especially when we look at the outskirts of the fire. This is now current conditions. Bend with unhealthy air quality. Elsewhere, just moderate levels, so not extreme here. Fire weather alert is active. This is a red flag warning through 9 p.m. tonight. Yes, more storms could create more fires, so that's something we'll be watching later today. But high pressure is slowly weakening. Notice how I've literally put a little dash between each letter on slowly because it's going to take its time. We hit 102 Friday, 100 degrees yesterday. Didn't quite beat a record, but still the 2 consecutive 100-degree days has never happened this late in the year. And the 98 is our forecast high for today. One thing that also shifted is the easterly wind is now a westerly wind. That will definitely work in our favor when it comes to those afternoon highs, and those will continue to get cooler. So only a few degrees a day. Like I said, it's going to be a gradual process. Probably won't even get into the 80s until about Wednesday, and then we'll also be watching Labor Day weekend. Maybe you got some plans. Maybe you want to hit the lakes, the rivers. Do know there is a little shower chance, but you don't need to change your plans over it. Probably into the low 80s for most of Labor Day weekend, and there is some hints we could get warmer again early next week, but no hundreds, at least, Owen.
That'll work.
We're done with those.
That'll work. I'd love to see 3 or 4 days of just downpour, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
As always, Peyton, thank you. We appreciate the insight. All right, everyone, we're going to cut to a break. When we come back, crossing our fingers, we're going to have Nick Popoff from Peel the Reel Guide Service. He's down in Astoria. Already had a really good morning. Hopefully, we can get lucky and see a fish get caught. We'll be back with that in just a minute.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Hawken Fishing, perfection in fishing gear, and by Haxton's Canvas and Upholstery, the trusted name of the Pacific Northwest.